everything's alright. Hooked on a feeling.
All right. Welcome to it, everyone. Coffee for Closers number 3 in the virtual appointment process. Nice job, Will. Very good song
Good choice.
man. Here again with Mr. Rick Kollmeyer. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man.
Yeah.
Doing great.
Third appointment, the final appointment, the closing appointment of the virtual federal sales process, or really a federal sales process. I mean, we could make a case that this could be used for in-person or virtual, right?
Yeah.
So let's recap a little bit from appointment 2. Appointment 2, we talked a lot about kind of making that transition from you had a benefits question, or like you said in the last episode, educator to financial planner or retirement planner. And it's obviously a long appointment, you know, an hour to an hour 15.
Yeah. I mean, it's the meat and potatoes of it.
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we got them to want us to go and do some research, right? We asked them at the end of that appointment to do some homework for us, get us some information. So we sent them, maybe we didn't even say this actually, but this is important stuff for you to know. Between appointment 2 and appointment 3, you're talking about making sure you've got documentation on their various accounts that you found out, because you did some fact finding at the end of appointment 2, right?
Yep.
So making sure that you understand what they have. So you asked for documentation, statements from those various accounts. You talked to them about their TSP, so you've got them to get their TSP statements. I mean, they've at this point agreed, like, okay, we want you to go and do some research for us, put together a solution to the problem that we found. So it's no problem for you to ask them to get some documents at this point.
You already kind of walked them through all of like the rough numbers. Like, again, like we're going to say your Social Security is this amount, just as a ballpark, you know, we're going to say your IRA is this account, you know, you're not really sure what it is.
Right.
Now you're wrapping up that second call saying, hey, look, I want to get exact numbers on these things. The ideas still work. The principle is still here. We're still going to look at through this option. Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously we got to know.
Apply the theory.
Yep. So do a little homework, get the documents. We can come back, make it all exact numbers. And again, that's not going to change anything in the third appointment, right?
Right.
It may change some numbers, but even if you're doing like an illustration and a rough number, say, hey, look, if we move $200,000 over here, this is about what we're going to get. Should be able to do some quick math and say, hey, this is what it's going to be. This is,
Yeah.
you know.
And the thought is like, I want to secure this money, right? Like, so how much security do we want?
Yep.
Right. And you and your analysis of the different options or the different assets they have are going to make a suggestion as to, you know, we want to secure a number of funds. This is what I'm suggesting we secure. And then you basically, you know, you move on from there.
Yeah.
Like, you've already covered a lot of the retirement theory in appointment 2. Like, you've told them what the concept is going to be, and now it's just to apply the concept. Right? We're going to put this theory to application. Does it work out right? Both suitability wise, goals wise, whatever. And you're going to come back to them with the different options, not just for, and this is the big common misconception, every advisor wants to go into this closing appointment and just go straight for the gullet. Here's what we're going to transfer this TSP to this annuity. Here are your different annuity options. And that's the only part of the appointment is like, okay, well, you told me you were going to do a retirement plan for me. You didn't tell me you were just going to move my TSP assets. How does this just solve the problem? We want them to walk away with an absolute certain knowledge of how their retirement's going to go on every benefit they have.
Yep.
And why we did this.
Now you're finally saying this is the pension option we chose because of this. This is the opportunity. We looked at life insurance. Either you needed it or didn't. We got plenty of assets, and you're kind of walking them through like the full picture of what you did in number 2, but giving them answers to each thing.
Right. Right. Exactly right. We'll bring this up on the screen. I'm going to show it. So it's like step 1, right? We're going to recap. We're recapping the second appointment, right? Okay. And that involves like just reiterating reconception.
You're just drawing on the iPad. Looks like we're having some tech issues.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I might not be sharing here. Hold on. Boom.
There we go.
All right. You're going to re-explain the concept. Recap the second appointment. You're going to explain what the
initial question was.
What the initial question was, right? What we were going to do. You might even explain to them, you know, securing assets, and you wanted to, you know, you had certain goals to travel, you know, whatever it is, right? And you're just basically going to, just explain to them, you know, okay, this is what we talked about last appointment. This is what you asked me to do. research wise, you can explain
what happened on last episode.
Your research, what you did, what you found out there, right? In relation to the concept, right? I'm going to get rid of the re. It's confusing me. You can explain the concept to them, right? You're going to re-explain that concept to them.
So e.g. something like, hey, so last meeting we really discussed what you guys were looking for in retirement. You guys had this game plan of, you wanted to travel a lot more, you wanted to secure some of the money. So we had funds. We knew kind of ballpark what you were wanting to do. You're just kind of retouching on how you left off the last appointment and the reason they're coming back to see you.
Right. You had this concern. Well, what I did was I started to take a look because you mentioned to me you have this TIA CREF and you've got this past employer fund and you've got this TSP.
Yep.
And you told me you wanted security, but without sacrificing too much of the upside potential. Okay. And so what I took a look at were these three things. I looked for something that had this, and I looked for something that had this, and I looked for something that had this.
Yep.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And now you've broken down to them what you went and did. They want to know that you've done some research. You know what hit me this weekend as we were like between weekends between filming the last episode and this episode? The big difference, and I had a consultation with one of our major advisors here at Megastar, and we were kind of talking through the difference, and he was kind of going head in strong into this appointment right off the get-go, skipping the difference between I'm going to do a retirement, or I'm going to answer and educate, be an educator, come back with a benefit analysis, then push to you've got a problem, then push to proposal. He was just going straight to you've got a problem and we got to fix it, and this is how you fix it. I've got these options, I got this option, I got this option, and the next one's just paperwork. Right? You're going like 9 times the way. It's like a doctor coming in. You got a paper cut on your finger, and the doctor comes in and says you're dying of cancer, and we got to start chemo tomorrow. You going to start chemo tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely not.
What are you going to do?
I'd go to a different doctor.
Exactly right.
That's funny. I have a good story on this. My buddy ended up hurting his rib, went to the doctor. The doctor walked in before they did anything. He was sitting with his mom. Doctor came in and said, hey, so I looked over your x-rays and it looks like there's a little bit of bruising, but nothing serious. And he goes, I haven't taken an x-ray yet. He's like, what?
Right.
Let's go take an x-ray. And he's like, nah, it's fine, dude. And literally left. He's like, I'm going to a different hospital.
Oh, man. But that's it, right? Like you just walked in and you said, hey, they came in with a basic benefit question. And you jumped to, you've got a serious retirement issue and there's only one way to fix it, and it's through me. And they're like, dude, you got me mistaken with somebody that wants your help.
Yeah.
I
just needed this.
Right. So now you're back in the third appointment. It's like, okay, the guy came in, we did the initial test and drew blood work. Now I've gone back to research treatment, right? Now it's like, what are you going to do if you went to a doctor, you had a paper cut?
Yep.
Doctor's like, well, that paper cut looks a little bit infected.
Yep.
Why don't we do some blood work?
Yep.
Right? You come back, you do some blood work. You're looking at the blood work, you say, look, it looks like you might have cancer.
Yeah. White cell counts all over the place.
Right. Something, I don't know the terms, right? I'm not a doctor. But basically, we come down to it. It's like, okay, I'm going to go take a look at some treatment options there. Are you going to at least entertain this guy's treatment options? Of course you are.
Absolutely.
Right? He took the right path to get here. He seems educated. It's a guy that, hey, by the way, I run a cancer institute. I'm a specialist in oncology or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to go and figure out some treatment plans for you. Is that something you'd be interested?
Yeah.
And they said yes. So now I'm going into this thing and I'm going to put together a treatment plan in my research and your specific situation, considering your assets and everything. This are the results that kind of came up. I looked for things like this. I looked for things like this. That's what you're bringing up and showing them on the screen too. Yeah. Like you're bringing up your drawing, right? It's like you told me you have these goals, right? I don't know. It's hard without an example, but let's say you have a pot of you told me you had $1 million and you wanted to, make sure that, or never mind. I'm going to scratch that. Let's say you told me you had a monthly need of $4,000 a month, right? And, you wanted to accomplish this. We know we're getting $1,000 or $1,200 from Social Security, and you told me you wanted to maximize your pension, but you wanted to secure some other income as well, right? Like you wanted to make sure that this $4,000 was guaranteed, and then you had this other play check that you wanted to do, where you might do $2,000, or maybe you wanted let's say $20,000 annually to go party with or play with during the first few years of retirement. Okay, that's fair enough, right? You came up to that conclusion. You told me this, so I wanted to make sure that this $4,000 was as secure as possible. And we talked about that in our last appointment, and we knew that the best part of it would be if we can maximize our pension. I'm sorry, you can't really see that anymore, but you wanted to maximize your pension. You wanted to maximize your pension as much as possible, right? And so this left this last little bit right here for us to come and guarantee, right? And the max pension is going to give us $2,000. So now we needed another $800,000 or $800 per month for the rest of our life to make sure that we've hit our $4,000 nut every single month for the rest of our life. And this $4,000, I mentioned to you in that last part that it wasn't really just $4,000, but it's $4,000 plus this I, which we called inflation. Remember when I said that?
Yep.
So we wanted something that could guard us against inflationary risk. But then also we wanted this secure asset, this $800, to be as secure as our pension and our Social Security. It's coming to us every single month. It's guaranteed because we didn't want it to be subject to the things like sequence of returns risk or any of the other risks that we mentioned in our last appointment, right? And then we wanted this $20,000 over here. And the $20,000 was, if it suited our financial situation or whatever. We didn't want to give up all exposure because we still wanted to ride the ups of the market, right? We still wanted to ride the ups of the market. So we wanted to get that, but we wanted to guarantee this amount, and we wanted to guarantee maybe some of this. Maybe 10,000 of this, right? Whatever the story might be. And this is kind of whatever kind of turned into a hodgepodge on the screen.
Yeah.
But the idea is I'm showing them what they were saying they wanted to do, just to recap. And I have not finished the recap yet. But the second I finish the recap, I'm going to shift and I'm going to start bringing up the illustrations of the various products that I went and found. And what am I going to start with? Do you have any idea, Rick?
I would assume it'd be the guaranteed section. You're trying to make up that $800 as quick as possible.
Well, sure. But I mean, as far as the different things I'm going to tackle is like, okay, so to get this ideal situation, the first thing I'm going to start with, again,
start from the pension, work back to the Social Security, work through FEGWI, and cover all the rest of the points too. Absolutely.
I never am starting with anything other than the
product,
pension on every single one of these things. Why? Because I'm all about maxing that Fed benefits. That's why you're dealing with me. Don't forget why that's why you're dealing with me. We're gonna max this out, right? So let me show you how we're gonna max this out. You told me that you didn't need to provide you had enough assets. You basically showed me through my research that you had enough assets to not have to take the max survivor or the partial survivor. And I show them all three options again, as if I'm giving them different options to choose from. So you've got the unreduced, you've got the max, and you get the partial survivor, right? These are the three options. And I'm going to show it to them again. Say, okay, well, look, in my research, to be honest with you guys, I think you have enough assets elsewhere to make sure that we can take this unreduced amount. Is that something that you guys are still interested in doing? Take the unreduced amount. If we can provide for your spouse, your loved one, beyond the grave, and make sure that the money is secure and won't go anywhere, just as it would be if it were with the government. And you don't have any health care issues, so you've got Medicare coming, and you've got other health benefits elsewhere, whatever it might be. The unreduced amount would be the best option, would be the obvious choice for us to maximize this pension. Is that something you're interested in?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. Next is Social Security. Another easy discussion, right? It's like whatever my Social Security, I did a Social Security max report here. My Social Security max report basically came out to saying X, Y, and Z. I'm suggesting in your situation, because of your desires to have, remember, because I just recapped to them what they wanted to do. Because you wanted to do X, Y, and Z, these were the best options for you. You could either take it at 62, take it at 67, or take it at 70. 62, obviously, you're getting a reduction, but you're getting your benefit now, right? And then I start to talk to them about break-even points if they deferred out to FRA. Right? And talking about the benefits to each of these things. If you feel like you're going to live longer, this might be a situation. But what happens if you defer this is going to change how we do number 3. And I've got options for both of these, right? So what we decide to do with our Social Security right now is what'll dictate how we, dissolve the plan using the other assets.
Yep.
If we decide to defer to 70, well, that means that we're going to need to secure more of the assets that we have from our TSP or the TIA, Crafts, the passive employer pensions, because we need more guaranteed income for that period of time between when you retire and when you turn 70 and turn on that income.
We've got $1,200 every month we're making up for 8 years now.
Right.
Yep.
Right, and that's a hypothetical,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But whatever. But now I need to guarantee that for 8 years. How would I do that, right? With as much certainty as possible. Okay, so you let them know that and say, well, what do you suggest? Well, let's play out both scenarios, right? And you play out scenario 3A and 3B. 3A being your suggestion, I want you to take Social Security now, or I want you to take whatever your suggestion is, whether it's the 62 or 70 or whatever it is. If you did A, then we'd do X, Y, and Z with your assets. If you did 3B, we'd do Y, X, and Z, right? Or
whatever you want to use.
Whatever you want to call there, right? With your assets. Reasons being, and then you list your reasons. Oh, I'm sorry. You list your reasons there. Okay. And that's it. You circle back to this. So what are we thinking? If we did 62, my suggestion is that we take it at 62. Gets you income right away. It allows us to make some other security assets. That would involve us doing 3A. Now, to accomplish 3A, we'll bring that back down here. 3A. Continued. To accomplish 3A, we would use a series of products, X, Y, and Z. And X would, I've got 3 options, option A, B, and C for X. Y, there's only one option with Y, and Z is whatever. Like, I just, it could just be that there's one variable for 3A. And this is kind of getting convoluted. The only thing that you really need to show somebody is like, okay, I'm going to show you all your options for your pension, show you all your options for Social Security, and show you how to accomplish the remaining balance based on what you select with these 2 options.
Again, still making up that $400,000 monthly bill, right?
Right.
And then if, again, they had that $20,000, whatever other solution was there, maybe they needed long-term care insurance or they wanted something else that was an ancillary part of it, you're just going through it here now.
Right. And then number 4, I address their FEGLI. What to do with their FEGLI. Yep. It's really 2 options, right? You've got 1, reduce benefit, or 2,
reduce and replace,
keep.
Oh yeah.
You can either reduce it or you can keep it.
Yeah.
So your 2 options, right? And so I'm going to show them how to reduce the benefit if that's the necessary thing, if they need the life insurance because they don't have other assets. But in this situation, they need to do that. I'm going to show them how to do that.
Yep.
We want to reduce it. You're going to fill out this paperwork, and it's going to get you the reduction at 65. Right? And it's just that simple. And like we walk through it all. I've had them sign, the pension. It's like, okay, you're going to do that. They're going to sign right there. Okay, fantastic. Social Security, want to do this. These are the 3 options here. We wanted to do 3A. You want to do that. So that meant we needed to fill out this paperwork. So we're going to fill out this paperwork to move TSP assets here. Right? And that's it. And again, number 3 is addressing the TSP/IRAs.
It's assets.
Right.
Now, would you, and let's say, and hypothetically, I'd like to hear your thought process on this. So in this case, we had, the client looking for like $4,000 in guaranteed income. And then they were looking to have a little bit of an extra overflow for it. So I guess let's say there's typically always like an extra little piece to it, right? They're always looking for, obviously, the guaranteed income they want to make, but they're also always looking for like a death benefit option for their kids, or they're looking for, usually there's some kind of ulterior motive or ulterior action they're looking for. So you'd say go pension, recover with pension, go through Social Security, and then go through a needs assessment or a solution for the needs assessment to get to that $800 is what we had on this case. And then go into FEGLI, would you have approached the additional $20,000 of annual income they're looking for before FEGLI or after FEGLI? Like, where would you have transitioned that?
No, I would address everything. Like FEGLI's just a cap at the end. It's the nightcap, right?
Yeah.
It's just another non-threatening thing to talk about. When I talk about number 3 here, TSP asset. Like, so when I've talked about maximizing the pension, we did that. Now we're moving on to Social Security, 2 non-threatening things that we're talking about there. And then we move into TSP, whereas obviously that's where I'm going to start potentially making money, right? But I don't want it to be
a straight for the throat beginning
straight
of the
for the
conversation.
throat. Like all we're talking about is moving TSP and your other assets over here, because then it's just like, okay, this
You also
guy,
don't have a reason why yet. By doing the pension and Social Security first, you have built a reason why. Now you're talking about all of their assets.
you wanted to accomplish the max. You wanted to accomplish. You wanted to get your Social Security either deferred, or you wanted to get it early, which is fine. Either one doesn't really matter what they do with their Social Security, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the third part is I'm going to start addressing the other assets. So how do we accomplish this goal? Now that we've decided what we want to do with these 2 things, how do we accomplish it?
Yep.
Because those are the variables in the retirement scenario, right? And we decided we wanted to get rid of FEGLI, but we're going to get back to that, right? I'm going to address the $800 they need. I'm going to address the $10,000 that they want to, either keep, and that might be as simple as keeping that money in the TSP. It's like, okay, you want to stay in something that's growth potential. Like, let's take that $10,000 we want every year, or $20,000. I forget what our example was, a year that we want to play with, to potentially go to Europe or travel or do something with, see the grandkids, pay off, blah, 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 whatever it is. Let that be the money that's exposed to the market, because that's the play money. But what we
you're solving you're solving the whole asset bucket right there.
the
that
whole
time.
asset bucket,
and then moving down to FEGLI again, because it, like you said, I mean, it's kind of like the I don't know, if you will, like the lollipop after getting a shot. If we're going to stay with the doctor analogies, right?
So right. Yeah.
You're still working through and saying, hey, look, so this is what we're going to do with all your assets, but we're not done yet because we still need to look at the FEGLI option here.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do?
So we move past this, and now we talk about
replacement.
And because we decided to do this, this, and this, we're going to be able to get rid of our FEGLI coverage altogether and still be taking care of our loved one beyond the grave.
Still flowing almost identical to the first and second appointments of how we move through everything. You're just solving the answer.
Or to be honest too, it's like it also tees up a FEGLI sale at the end, no doubt. It's like, okay, we maximize the pension, right? We maximize the pension. We did the Social Security. And then we're talking about TSP. I can't really do too much here because you've got very limited assets. But because of that, we're going to keep the FEGLI.
Yep.
And quite frankly, we shouldn't keep FEGLI. We should go to supplemental options. We should look at supplemental options because if we're going to keep the life insurance, we might as well get the best life insurance we can get that keeps the costs at a minimum throughout retirement. Quite frankly, you can't afford FEGLI all the way through retirement.
And the whole time you're still teeing it all up as you're going through it, right? Like the pension. So at this point, we've chosen a pension option we're going to pick. You've chosen either 1, 2, or 3, but the whole time you're still walking through that, you're relaying back to the FEGLI, right? You're like, hey, look, we choose option 2 because we want to provide some spousal benefit for it, or we chose option 1 to get you the most so we can use that money to pay for life insurance here. So again, constantly kind of touching back on all of them and explaining why you're picking these options.
And then at the end, you put this report, your illustrations, or whatever, and applications, and this paperwork in a binder / email.
Yep.
And you send it to them.
Yep. And keep all of it. It's going to help a ton with the PTA and new changes we could be looking at this year.
That's right.
If you're providing this stuff for your client, if you're providing all the illustrations you've sent, and especially if you're having him sign it, like I know you like to do, like bring whatever lawyer you want.
Yeah. I want them to realize, like, this is what we decided to do, this. All these things they're all consequential of each other, right? Like it has to, because we're doing these other 2 things, we've got to secure these assets, or we've got to do, whatever the plan is, right? Like it's harder to do this without a specific example, case study. But if it was a situation where I was trying to generate income for somebody, because quite frankly, you walk in with these people that are like, oh yeah, I only have $2,000 worth of expenses. Okay, well, you're used to living at $8,000 in income. Are you just willing to slash all that income?
Yeah.
Well, we're saving X amount of money, and we won't need to save that money as much anymore. Okay, fine. Well, what do you want to live on, right? Because that's what we want to guarantee for the rest of your life. Plus, you've got to think about all the other risks of retirement, inflationary risks, legislative risks, tax risks, all these other things. And we're devising a plan to help them accomplish eliminating as many of those risks as possible on the monies that we absolutely need. And then, or could possibly need. And then the remaining part, that's just your play check, as Tom Hegna always says. The play checks allow that to be exposed to the market. And that can kind of help you with inflationary risks. It's like, okay, well, if the inflation goes up, the market is going to generally go up as well. And so, boom, you ride that, and anyway. And then and that kind of, to be honest, it's like, this is kind of advisor preference in this third appointment. Third appointment is like, this is where your style starts to come out. If you've got a specific style that you like to present to somebody your proposal, this is the appointment where you do it, because you've started to take over the credibility, and now they're wanting your retirement planning, right? What we've taught you in this 3-step process is how to get them to the point of ready to receive that information, right? That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an excellent point.
Are they here to get their cancer treatment, right? That's what they want. They want to know what the treatment plan is, and they're ready to execute it, right? So it's just about putting a logical reason why this is the best treatment for them. And and swap cancer out for your retirement pain or your retirement problem. This is the best treatment for your retirement problem, undoubtedly. And you just put it together yourself. Here are all the options that are out there. These are the ones I suggest. This is why I suggest this over this and this. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. Okay, let's take it. It's done. We like that option. Okay, and this is, you told me you wanted X, Y, and Z. This is my suggestion to accomplish X, Y, and Z on Social Security. And TSP option, we have basically two options. You said you wanted to secure. You said your risks were low. I mean, this isn't something new for most advisors out there.
It's just getting through the federal first half of it to get to what they've been doing the whole time.
And then what we love to encourage is like, you drop these cherries. It's like, it can't all just be about TSP. It's got to be about the entire package.
Yep.
Anyway.
It's killer. It's working.
It is working very well. If you have questions about it, though, they can reach out to us, myself, you, the entire team at Megastar. We're here to help you guys. This is just a program that's been on fire lately. Yeah. And, if you just put a little bit of trust in this process, I assure you it's going to take you to the moon as far as your production, your closing rates on these appointments. I've seen it countless times of advisors sitting down for consultation sessions and coming out with it with a great first appointment, great second appointment, and closing money quickly. I know you just had a call with somebody just recently where it went really, really well.
Yep.
And it's hard. It's hard for us to want to change something that's worked for us for years, but this is a different, with every sales system out there, or every lead source, you have to adjust your sales system to make sure. And the good news is almost everybody watching is a salesman at heart and has the ability to, they just got to take a step back and think about what's the mindset of the consumer coming into this, and how do I get them to a place to receive the treatment.
Yep.
Right.
Like you said, when we were first walking into, I guess the I don't know, call today or podcast today, would this process work just as well as in person? Probably, but it works, we know it works very well on a virtual platform, whereas a lot of things you do in person don't work as well in virtual. Like some of them aren't interchangeable.
Sure.
And it's one of those things you have to adjust. Maybe is this process a lot of overkill, and there's a lot of extra time we're spending where you wouldn't have to if you did a seminar for them already? Yeah. We can't prove it. Possibly not. All I know is it's working real well right now.
Yeah. So. And to be honest, though, if it was a in-person session, I don't know that I would change much. If I did a workshop, I would get up on the stage. I would explain all the benefits. I would definitely, earn the credibility. It'd be a lot of the first appointment, but I'd still want to,
sit down one-on-one, because that's still when all the things are going to come out, even if we already talked about it.
Yeah, it's still, from there, what's changed? Just the only thing that changes from a virtual and an in-person is we don't have to do that first appointment of the virtual process, the one where I do a phone call and explain to them, who I am and why I do this and that sort of thing, right? And if you haven't seen that, go back to episode 1 and watch that. But episode 1 would be the only one I'd get rid of. From there, it'd
2
still
and 3
be
is still flawless.
benefit analysis. and then basically, because I don't want to jump in just a conversation. It's like, if I got you to come to a workshop of mine, come to the workshop, sit down in my office and start talking to me. We do some fact finding or whatever. And me jump to the conclusion at the end of that you don't have X, Y, and Z. Like, I better run the report right there while you're in the office with me.
Still on that first appointment, I'd still want to go through everything when it came to the federal benefits, because like, what are you going to do? You're going to make an assumption that you remember everything from the presentation, and they're going to walk in knowing the different benefits. So I probably would still, even if I did a workshop,
the only thing you would skip
first.
really is like the credibility part.
Yeah.
Like, you're already credible. So now it's like, okay, I'm going to explain to you. I don't need to explain to you who I am or why I do this.
Yeah.
Right. But still, like, if I were to jump into that appointment and go straight down to, you've got a retirement problem, it's the same cancer
You gotta
issue
run the same
before,
thing,
right?
yeah.
Like, I'm just can't. You just sat down with me. You didn't run any reports, and now you're telling me I've got a retirement issue. Like, how could you possibly know that? Okay, you brought me. Maybe your deal is that you asked them to bring their leave and earning statement, their TSP statements, their FEGLI statements with them to that first appointment with you. Okay, you sit down there, and in 30 minutes, you've told me that I have a problem. It's like, you haven't done any research.
Yeah. It's still the same thing. I mean, keeping up with the doctor analogy, right? I mean, you walk in and your arm's bent the wrong way. They're going to be like, yeah, we should probably do some x-rays. Like, dude, you know it's broken. I know it's broken. We all know in the room it's broken, but they're still going to make you go sit down and do x-rays. So, yeah, it's still a great point.
And that is a fantastic point. In no way am I suggesting that if you, like in that analogy, that because they have a paperclip that you're wrong, that they don't have cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know you're right, but they're not ready to receive that information. Right? That's all we're trying to say. And so in this third appointment here, I don't really care if you follow this exact process. I know this to work, right? Pension, Social Security, TSP, or asset, address the assets, and then FEGLI. But you don't have to go down that path. You've got them in the right place to receive a diagnosis. All you need to do, let's recap this just one more time. We'll bring this back up on the screen. Last little bit here. Recap. Last appointment. Explain. Research. Present. Proposal. That's it. Paperwork. Those are the 4 steps to the closing appointment. The 4 steps. Recap the last appointment. Go through how you came to get all of this research, what you did in your research. Then go ahead and present what you're explaining, right? So that's where you come back to the step 1, pension, TSP, or Social Security, TSP, and FEGLI. And then you start doing the paperwork. Here's what we're doing with the pension. Here's what we're doing with this. Here's what we're doing that. All of this, 1 hour to an hour 30.
Yep.
Done. Address objections maybe in some of that time, but that's it. These are the 4 steps. That's it. And when you're done with it, you should be closing at a huge percentage. But that's it. Like, you could change that up a tiny bit if you needed to. Like this presentation here, we'll bring that back up on the screen. The presentation proposal, that's like the advisor's style, whatever your style
You're
is.
selling sequence return at a market risk or whatever, like, whatever you're kind of closing linchpin. And that depends on the client too, right?
However,
that's going to fluctuate with what case you're dealing with, but it's still the same 4 steps.
But this, I'm going to star everything that shouldn't change between appointments.
Yeah.
Recap the last appointment, explain the research, your presentation proposal, that's up to your own presentation style. My suggestion is to follow the style that we suggested in this video, and then go into paperwork and fill in that paperwork out.
Yep. Easy enough.
That's it. All right, everybody. If you have any questions, I know we went a little bit longer than we thought there on this last one, but hey, well worth the time. If you have questions about the sales process, always feel free to sign up for an appointment consultation with either myself or Rick Kallmeyer or any of the team members here at your Megastar home office. We thank you all for watching all the way through the series, and we wish you the best of luck working these federal appointments. We'll see you next time right here on Coffee for Closers. Take care.